Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome to you on behalf of Sophos and SMEVenture. What we wanted to discuss today is a very important aspect of security. And if we trace back what has happened in the last few months is once this preponderance of work from home, what that has created is different, the workload pattern itself has shifted, and what that has done is added more and more security vulnerabilities. So, perhaps in this context, a discussion about how enterprises are facing their security challenges, synchronizing between network security and endpoint security is essential. And today we have experts from Sophos, one of the premier cybersecurity vendors globally, as well as in India. They will talk about how enterprises, how they can help enterprises manage some of their cybersecurity challenges with some of the solutions and services they have. So without further ado, what we have the format is we have a brief presentation from Sophos, and then we have a panel discussion with our esteemed panelists where we will discuss some of the solutions and challenges. So without further ado, I will first ask Mr. Santhosh from Sophos to take up the presentation and present what are the solutions and services that Sophos offers to help you all in managing your security challenges. Over to you.
Yeah, very good morning. And you are able to see my screen?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yes. Yes, we can. It's visible.
Thank you, thank you. Welcome all and very good morning. And today I talking about how synchronized security helps in your organization. That's my topic, and I want to take you a few survey how we can see these activities in this. The main part what we seen in the survey, like there is a three splitation. One is prevention, next is detection and response. When you look on that globally, in any country, if you look, you can see prevention and detection. In prevention, you can see around 40% near it is happening, and another detection is somewhere around 20, below 20%. But if you see the response is somewhere 20-25% response. Like when some incident happened, the last moment comes on the response, and skill set is needed for this. We will see another survey where the skilled staff is in a major block. Any organization, I totally agree. You also think about your own organization. Retain a skilled IT security professional is a major challenge. Globally, it is saying a 81%. If you taken a breakup into two, 54% of organization are saying as significant challenges, not that much of tough, but 27% of end customers says that it is a biggest challenge. If you look on 27% big challenge, where synchronized security helping to that particular organization, that's the main beauty here. What synchronized security? We will talk about much more on synchronized security. In your organization, you know that the product called as wireless email solution, you have cloud solution, you have encryption, you have MDM type of solution, you have servers, endpoints, firewall, all are in a different vendors you are using. Now think about the products are talking each other, right? One product to another product, internal talk each other, how beautiful it is. Now Sophos is offering all our Sophos products are talk each other, like firewall and endpoint will talk each other. And main advantage is it use a heartbeat technology to identify the health status of the system to the firewall. In this context, if you see something it is compromised on the endpoint, automatically firewall will isolate. The same way, email something it's happened, the fish thread can able to take care. Another is encryption, like endpoint and encryption, it is talking each other. Whenever any malicious activity happen on the machine, the existing encryption code will deactivate it. Once the system is clean up, it will rebuild. And all this, it connects to a central dashboard called as a Sophos Central. All our products, all our Sophos solution can able to manage a single platform that called as a Sophos Central. I think so in this planet, no other vendor is not offering. That's the main beauty. And we are integrated with Sophos Lab, artificial intelligence on that, then API integration. So we will just go little more in drive on the synchronized security. I will just explain more about the synchronized security between two products, like two or more products. One I have an example here is XG Firewall and InterceptX, which is the endpoint security solution. If these two products talk each other, whenever any malicious activity or any unwanted activity or any threat comes to your network, what synchronized security does is he will isolate the system till the system is clean. If the system is clean, it will rebuild the connection back. That's the main beauty here. Like auto dynamically, he will create the rule in the backend and it will able to. Look wise is very easy, technology wise is very solid. That's the solution what we are offering is. Another important area where the challenge is most of the organization is LAN to LAN or internal or lateral spreading, how to block it. In the same synchronized security, if any system is identified, any malware or anything, we will isolate that machine, including laterally. That's the another main advantage. You can see the small screenshot I put it here. You can able to on the live, and within a 5 milliseconds of time, this activity will be achievable. Next important challenge is application, like lack of applications. And any firewall vendor or any application vendor, they can't come up with all the application signature to your box. What we are offering is in the synchronized security, which are not part of the signature, it will automatically throw the application information to the gateway device called as a firewall. And through the firewall, the IT administrator or security expert create a signature on the fly based on your organization, and the visibility on the application you will get it. Second, another key area nowadays is how to route that type of application. In synchronized security, we have synchronized app detection. That particular application you want to route for a particular ISP or particular MPLS or particular VPN, you can able to do. That's the beauty what we created right now. Now we talk about another products called as like MTR, managed threat response. Then we have InterceptX for EDR, then InterceptX Advanced. This is three products. I will talk about much on this. InterceptX Advanced is nothing else. It provides a deep machine learning type of technology, next gen endpoint with traditional antivirus built in on that, two in one in a single, and it will prevent the ransomware. So ransomware exploit prevention. You can do a RCA. Where it comes the EDR, it is one more level of advanced version of InterceptX Advanced. You can do an investigation and security in a box. You can call. A lot of tools are built in on this solution. That you need to run your own skill set. The third final one is MTR, where the human experts will be sitting in Sophos and give the solution for you. We will see more about MTR. Now, nowadays, when you see managed threat response, when you want to implement a SOC in your organization, the cost will be too high because you need a minimum 3 to 4 experts are needed. And if you look on the salary of that person for 1 year, and if you divide it and you compare with our MTR solution, our solution is very easy, and the very expert level people are sitting and working, and it is automatically integrated to Sophos Lab. That's the MTR solution, and it is fully transparently, it works. Basically what it does is any type of attacks or human led type of attacks, when it is entering to your organization, they helps you how to neutralize that one. Then it will fully driven by human being, and you can buy and within apply the license within 1 hour of time. You can build up the MTR solution on your organization. Next, we are talking about in the EDR some of the key highlight feature like live discovery. Live discovery is the tool which gives you like around 100 plus SQL queries are built in the live discovery. You can use that and you can do an investigation, anything. Plus, another key advantage is if your experts knows much greater idea on the SQL query, you can do your own SQL. You can build up your own SQL query and you can do a investigation. Another important part is live response. Live response is once you've done the investigation, you want to take a because it's isolated the system, you want to take that mission and you want to delete user rights or like lot many technical thing you can do through Sophos Central. You can access right now if the person is work from home or work from different places. In that scenario, you can't go there, right? By using this live response, you can able to enter to that particular system by command line or CMD option, and you can do the troubleshooting. That's the another main area. Next, lot of customers, I can say in the pandemic time, we seen that they are moved solution to the cloud. When we are moving to the cloud, the security part you want to take care, not cloud vendor will not. Where Sophos we have providing a solution for AWS, Google Cloud or Azure, we have Cloud Optics is a solution which gives the asset discovery, then security and compliance posture you can able to do, and you can do integrate with DevOps part you can able to integrate. Another key area when you move to the cloud, every year you can see around 26% of expense is keep increasing, where you couldn't able to find very easily like where it is going high, how to fine tune that. We have option there is spend optimization monitoring graph you can able to see. Another key area is cloud optics and intercept X for server in the cloud plus XG firewall. Again, it will do a synchronized security each other. That's another key advantage in Sophos where we are offering to the customer. When we talk about extreme architecture XG firewall, I hope everybody knows this XG firewall, where the recently released what we are done it, Sophos Lab and Intellex, which together integrated with fully artificial intelligence based and deep machine learning algorithm mechanism for static file and dynamic file scanning part to the XG we are integrated, plus AV, IPS, web and application, which works through the machine learning algorithm mechanism, where the performance will get better than earlier years, right? Plus the latest technology where TLS 1.3 also supported in XG firewall. Next important thing I want to talk is now work from home. Like a lot of people are, most of the people are work from the remote area. How the synchronized security will help? Here we have a VPN solution. Through the VPN solution, endpoint and firewall, whenever the machine is compromised, through the VPN connection also we will do a isolation and cleanup and rebuild the connection back. That's another beauty you can able to achieve here. Next, we talk about Sophos Central Firewall Management and Reporting. You can able to manage your firewall multi-location and all, and it's absolutely free of cost. cloud.sophos.com. It's Sophos Central is also absolutely free of cost. In this multiple firewall, you can able to monitor the health. You can able to store the multi-location backup of the configuration. You can store it in a one single point. You can create the policies and you can sync with all the appliances. You can view and audit your configuration and remain IT related activity and zero touch deployment. You can do it, and you can able to do the HA monitoring, as well as schedule the upgrade, like firmware upgradation. If you want to do it on schedule, like Saturday, you want to upgrade the firewall, you can set it and apply it automatically. That location firewall automatically will be upgraded. Next is the report. You have a multi-location. If you want to put a report in a central point, this also available. 7 days report is absolutely free of cost, and additional storage, if you need it, you can buy from Sophos. This is from my side. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Santhosh. That was a very insightful discussion. I would like to start the panel discussion now. And briefly, as I mentioned earlier, we have a very esteemed set of panelists representing different verticals, from technology to BFSI to education, and different. So we have Mr. Yatin from Valuefy, we have Anuj Chopra from Axtria, we have Vikas Goel from ThinkStreet and British Telecom, we have Sachin Murudkar from Prime Focus, we have Mr. Purushottam from SAP, and we have Mr. Rajendran from Bamani. So my first, and we are also joined by Mr. Prasanna from Sophos and Mr. Bhaviskar from Sophos would also add their insights in the panel. So my first question, we have heard Santhosh, and I'll put this question to Yatin first. There are two aspects of security for an enterprise. One is the network security and one is the endpoint security. While in the last few years, network security had become more critical, but during this pandemic situation, because of the typical work from home environment and people connecting from different devices, heterogeneous devices, endpoint security has again assumed importance. So, as a CIO or a CISO, what are the challenges for the technology head in synchronizing between network security and endpoint security? Over to Yatin.
Thanks, Rajneesh. Right, before I start answering the question, right, certain groundworks is that, yes, COVID has accelerated work from home, but in matured organizations, just give me 1 minute, yeah. In matured organizations, right, we have already taken steps, right. We have already taken steps to ensure that endpoint security is taken care of, right? So may it be encryption, may it be right, putting controls right, at the endpoint stage. And the challenges, of course the scale has gone up because now majority of the workforce is operating from homes, right. These proactive measures are becoming handy for organizations which were not geared for endpoint security and were primarily operating from their offices. This has become challenging, and they now need to accelerate their efforts. The key thing is what happens is, as the domain of endpoint security and network security and all the other elements like the firewalls, the database security, the application security, all the 7 layers, right, as they start coming in, the entire portfolio becomes too huge to manage. So the first challenge that we see is we don't want different systems, right, to manage different layers of security. Secondly, because of the remote interface, right, a web-based solution, a dashboard where we can handle, right, all the layers of security, may it be perimeter, may it be firewall, or may it be going right up to the endpoint. If we can manage them in one dashboard, in one right browser-based application, that becomes very handy. Different devices from different right service providers also need to talk a common language, because any tool needs to adapt and absorb different I mean signals which are coming, the data that is coming, the heartbeats that are coming from various I mean devices, and hence to integrate the different components of the entire enterprise on a single software or a tool or application which has a single window of dashboard, was a historical challenge which we have addressed by deploying a converged security, which today we call it as synchronized security. So with that, Rajneesh, I hope I have answered my question. I mean,
Yeah.
answered you.
So basically, you have talked about the importance of manageability, interoperability, and integration. I'll come to you, Anuj. If I can ask you, synchronizing between network security and endpoint security, a challenge and the benefit for enterprise, and how do you go about that, Anuj?
Sir, your sound is muted.
Manish, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I was on a mute.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm saying is, connectivity is one of the defining characteristics of, of this century, right? Where pre-meeting every aspect of our lives. So, for example, the words we speak, can I connect with you to discuss, things like that? They are all connected with, web-based music platforms, be it wireless speakers, which are controlled via mobile phone, and even the way we maintain our relationships with friends and families, right? So everything is connected. So connectivity is also fundamental to our infrastructure, that is synchronized security and cyber security, as a system. So pouring money, more and more money to individual point security solutions, right, is no longer a realistic solution now. With this pandemic specifically, we need to have a tight synchronization and integrity between network security and endpoint security. Now, while standalone cybersecurity solutions can address specific vectors of attack, but cyber criminals, will also continue to be able to exploit the gaps between point solutions and take advantage of, say, lack of connectivity. So organizations nowadays need a layered approach to security where products connect and share information. And now I think it's time to embrace this new approach where synchronized security is cyber security, where synchronized security and cyber security is, delivered as a system, right? So security solutions connect with each other in real time, right, via security heartbeat, as someone suggested as well, right, working together to combat advanced threats. Now, as far as I'm concerned, synchronized security is the world's first and the best cybersecurity system, where endpoint network, mobile Wi-Fi, email, and encryption products all sharing information in real time and responding automatically to incidents. So that can help us to isolate, say, infected endpoints, blocking lateral movement, restrict Wi-Fi for non-compliant mobile devices, scan endpoints on detection of compromised mailboxes, revoke encryption keys if a threat is detected, identify all apps, on the network, and with everything controlled through the central, cloud-based security platform, management is a breeze, right? So, uh, you know, uh, for me, synchronized security will always have three pillars, identifying unknown threats, analyze them, and responding to, automatically to incidents. So that is, when we say adaptive policies automatically respond to infection and incidents in seconds, right? So I think that is what, my perspective of this would be.
Okay. So primarily identify, analyze, and respond, the basic tenets of managing security that you have mentioned. I'll come to you, Sachin. From You are an industry which generates a lot of data, and obviously, being of a competitive nature, the security vulnerability is very highly there. So, For you, how do you manage between synchronizing between the network security part and the endpoint security part, and especially in light of the current situation, Sachin?
Thanks, Rajnish. Actually, to talk upon this, I would say that as everyone know that in these current pandemic situations where most of the users and most of the employees are being remotely working from home and getting the access of the office systems via some of the other applications or services, it has become very difficult to manage the security point on these aspects. But as Mr. Yatin said, there are many applications and services which can manage this security point of view. And it has become really difficult managing each and every application or each and every tool via this, say, different applications to users. But then, if there is something which can help us, like as Mr. Santosh said, that if we get everything in a synchronized manner, where there is one dashboard and we can manage everything via one say dashboard, it becomes the work very easy for the specifically for the IT team to manage all these things. So definitely that is one point which we are feeling as a challenge, that there are various types of applications in big organizations where we have to physically or manually intervene in each and every application and services and see whether what the problem is or what the issue is and tackle each and every issue differently. So I feel that if something where we get in a single page, that will be the biggest achievement, I would say, and that will be the biggest uh, opportunity for the IT team or the IT department to get into it and solve the issue as soon as possible and rectify whatever the issues are. So that is what I can see the challenges in the current scenario what we are facing right now.
Okay, thanks. Vikas, I'll come to you. What, according to you, are the main cybersecurity challenges, especially if we look back at the last few months, and where do you see this synchronization between network security and endpoint security happening?
Sure. Last few months, as you pointed out, we are living in this pandemic times. Corona has made sure that we are not able to attend offices and we are not within the perimeter. So all the network security, as traditionally we have seen, works on a perimeter basis. We identify a network, we've set up intrusion detection systems, IDS, network firewalls, and all that. But now, during the Corona times, people like me and many other Salesforce people are working in remote towns, their native places, who are not in the perimeter anymore. And so this is a new situation, and there is a huge surge of such devices people are using. For example, I am using access to my network and organization through a mobile phone, a PDA, or a laptop which is outside the network, sitting, say, in Coimbatore or sitting in a remote village in Tamil Nadu. And how does my company make sure that the network is not compromised? So the traditional firewall system and traditional network security will not work anymore. And the challenge here that I see is to be able to incorporate all these other devices into the network, call them various endpoints, and make sure the endpoint is not compromised. The other problem that I see is of scalability. For example, earlier, go back 5 or 10 years in the organization, there would be approvals for senior management teams. Some 100, 200 people were allowed bring your own device, and you would get a corporate permission to have that device secure. But today, all 10,000 people in an organization are bringing their own device. BYOD is a common term people are using. And how do you scale up 10,000 endpoints into the network? So how do we synchronize that scale? And I'm talking of 10,000 in India. Maybe global workforces will be having 100,000 endpoints, and each person can own multiple devices. I have a mobile phone which I network into my company. I have a laptop, and I also use an iPad. So if you look at even a small sales force or 20,000 globally distributed people with 2-3 devices each, you're talking of 60,000 endpoints. And look at that. I mean, the scale is a big challenge, I think. And at the same time, working through various OS, whether it is Apple device or Android device, etc., will give you all those various kind of challenges that need to be looked into.
Okay, so primarily you talked about scalability and compatibility. Mr. Purushottam, I'll come to you. What did you face as the main challenge on the cybersecurity front and in synchronizing between network and endpoint security? Mr. Purushottam.
Yeah, it was the same issue what the other person had spoken about right now. It's the same issue what we had faced. See, I used to work for Valipon Texol. Even Valipon Texol is also into cybersecurity, and we used to deal with a lot of other OEMs as well with regards to the same platform and the same requirement. So the concern basically from an endpoint customer or any other customer is the security front. How secure is my device or how secure is my data? Now the other problem is majority of the data whichever is there is on the cloud. So how secure is the connectivity between my cloud security as well as my endpoint security is what the challenges the customers are looking at or the organizations are looking for.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
getting my point.
Yeah. So I will come to you, Ravindra, Mr. Bhaviskar, as well as Prasanna. Now you have heard most of the enterprise users and some of the key challenges that they have listed range from one is compatibility, the other importance is scalability in terms of the huge scale of endpoints that are getting generated in a work from home environment. Then compatibility is an important issue. Integrating between these different multi-compatible devices is another issue. So keeping these in mind, as a security solution provider, what would be your advice to most of the CIOs and enterprise users? Over to you, Ravindra.
Yeah. So I'll take it, Prasanna. Then if you can add up on top of it, would be great. So my fellow panelists pointed it out very crisply. The pandemic rather has taught us few things. Uh, Perimeter has dissolved. We all know that, right? I mean, I would say thanks to COVID or this pandemic, we no more sitting in a closed office premises. Everything is everywhere, right? So it is not a perimeter now. It is a SDP that we call it as a software defined perimeter. So eventually focus has shifted from a perimeter to the endpoint, right? And that is where the cloud adoption has increased. Having said that, security is just not endpoint security is just not a network security, right? To have a bare minimum or a basics of a security, you need to have a firewall, endpoint protection, maybe email security, right? Wireless access point if you are allowing wi-fi infrastructure in the network, right? So these all are the solutions which we adopt. Now you call them as a point solution, right? They might be best in class at their respective category, right? A firewall from base vendor, endpoint from base vendor, wireless from base vendor, email from a base vendor. But then if they are not talking to each other, that eventually is increasing your manual intervention and the manual policy, and there is no dynamic adaptation of the policy. I'll give you one example. When we talk about this, talk about an music orchestra where you have best in class piano player from vendor, you have best in class drum player, we have best in class guitar player. But if all of them are not syncing with each other, you will not be able to hear a class music, right? And that is exactly what the synchronization is all about. Now people talk about synchronization, there are solutions available. People say if there are point solution, you need to have aggregation and correlation of the logs and automation. SIM, SOAR are the solution. But then think about this solution as an SMB Soho or pragmatic enterprise class of customers, these are a costlier affair solutions. Now, these are all solutions which are deployed at SOC, Security Operations Center, and not only deploying this solution will help you, it requires lots of automations and skill sets to operate the SIEM and the SAW solution. Right? That is exactly what Santhosh has pointed out. Sophos Synchronized Security does not require anything to be done extra apart from buying the next generation solution what Sophos offer, which other vendors offers too. Right? We have next generation firewall accredited by Gartner NSS Lab. We have next generation endpoint accredited by Gartner NSS Lab, Forrester, SC Lab, MRG Epitas, right? We have email solution, web solution, access point, cloud optics, EDR, MTR. And best part is all can be managed through a single web-based cloud management platform that is Sophos Central, right? Moment you have this solution enabled on Sophos Central, they will talk to each other and form a synchronized security. Right? You don't need to add any scripting, any API. Sir said integration requires something to happen. APIs is one of them. Right? Very few vendors exposes their API to other vendor. You might be having. I'll just give you example. Train will not expose their API to checkpoint or the FireEye. Right? If even if they will do very limited set of API to be exposed. That will not give you full fledged synchronized security or the automation. That is exactly where Sophos helps you. Now, since it is a cloud managed platform, I think if I'm not wrong, Vikasji pointed it out. Scalability, right? Cloud has no limitation. So like an on-premise solution, for few thousand users you have Xbox, for few thousand more users you have Y box, or you need to go for HA, you need to go for cluster. Cloud, there is no need of doing that, right? It scales as and when required, right? It scales as and when you add load on top of it, right? And that is exactly where cloud helps you. And the Sophos management console sits on cloud, right? So all these products managed to single console, talk to each other, form synchronized security, and do the automation and the response. Again, I'll take the reference of COVID situation only. What exactly synchronized security does, Santosh clearly told about it. Moment endpoint is infected, right? Firewall will automatically drop internet of that particular endpoint. It will drop DMZ access of that endpoint. Not only that, it will block the access of that endpoint communicating to the other servers and the endpoints within the same LAN. In short, it is simply isolating it. If I correlate this with today's pandemic, moment we are finding out any COVID patient, what we are doing currently, we are just isolating him from rest of the people so that that infection does not spread across. Right? That is exactly what Sophos synchronized security is doing. Now you must be wondering, we are not sitting in office, right? How this isolation will work in remote scenario. Now, remote scenario in this pandemic, people are working from home. VPN adoption has increased a lot. Now, can you trust the VPN user connecting to your corporate network, right? Based on just an username password? Because username password is something you have provided them to connect to your corporate network. But he might be downloading Netflix, he might be doing all other stuffs at home with his using his home internet, and if that endpoint is able to recognize that there is some malicious activity happening, do not allow that user to connect to the corporate network even though he has a valid credential. That is exactly what synchronized security does. So with Sophos endpoint and firewall, no matter whether you are at corporate network, whether you are outside sitting at home, right, as long as along with credential your associated device having the health status as green or uh, what you call good to connect, then only you are allowed to connect to the corporate network and access the resources. So that is exactly what the synchronized security does for you as far as the synchronized security and the talking of each product talking to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Add to Ravindra. I'll just highlight. Let's assume that you are actually want to reduce your response time. In a general situation, what happens if there is a attack on any endpoint? It takes around 4 hours to isolate, identify, and take a action on that particular device. In the case of synchronized security, we do it within 8 milliseconds. So which is a big difference. Let's assume that you are having a large network of 5,000 users or 10,000 users. Imagine that if something goes wrong and there is some issue at an endpoint, so how fast you can respond. So the more you spend time on response, you are not just wasting time but also resources. So what synchronized security does is it reduces the time of response as well. So we can bring down the response time so easily because it's automated. It doesn't take any human intervention in that. So in that way, it can actually be very, very beneficial in terms of providing you a better ROI. So the amount of the response time, if it is reduced, your manpower engaging in that also reduces. So that's what we believe, and it has been working as a system. And we have seen that traditional belief systems have been actually broken by Sync Security, and we are very, very, very well progressing in this direction. So as Ravi said, scalability is also not an issue. So this is what future actually is looking towards, and we have been able to do that in a fantastic manner. And that's what Rajnish, I would like to put it in a nutshell actually.
Okay, thanks. Basically, we have heard the response from Sophos, and we have heard both what Ravi gave the COVID analogy was very apt in terms of how do you isolate and then take, and Prasanna gave more the business perspective in terms of how the ROI is managed in this cloud security mode, as well as the skill set, relevant skill set, because that is a challenge also for CIO. So I'll come back to the enterprise users again and start again with Yatin. Uh, what are your expectations on the security front from a security solution provider like Sophos, keeping in mind both the budgetary constraints, the ROI, as well as relevant people with relevant skill sets are concerned? What would be your expectations from a security solution vendor like Sophos? Yatin.
Right. I mean, certain things you already mentioned. So it has to be affordable. So I'm not going to touch upon those. So affordability is a given, right? But apart from that, right, the first thing that comes to my mind is a single dashboard which collects data, right, of all the distributed vendor equipments. May be firewall from someone, may be right switches from someone, may be endpoint devices, right, by multi vendors. So all these right points, right, servers from someone, right, the security dashboard and the application should listen and respond to a hybrid vendor environment. And when we look at even cloud, and when I include the cloud environment, we are in the environment wherein we are we are having hybrid clouds from 2 3 vendors, right? So when I look at a security, right, and when I say, right, a mature security service provider, I want a single dashboard, right, which can take care of everything. I mean, the distributed environment, diverse environment. That's point number one. Point number two, minimal manual intervention, right? So because now what is happening is most of the people are remotely located. Even my support team is remotely located. So if, wherever possible, the need to go physically should be minimized, right? And as far as possible, if it is templated and automated, right, that would be preferred, right? The tool should be browser based, because I mean, we really don't I mean, gone are the days wherein we install something, right, client server XYZ. So if it is a browser based, that is acceptable. So these three things come to my mind, which are the minimum ask apart from affordability and cost, right? Of course there is one more, right, and the seamless upgrade of the environment, because the technology, I mean, the security landscape is ever evolving. Every day new threats are coming, right? So as that curve is, so the service provider should be proactive to go above that curve and not lag behind that curve. So these are
Okay.
the, right, a couple of things that come to my mind.
Thank you. Anuj, what you would like to add in terms of expectations from the security solution provider?
I think we Sophos, an organization like Sophos, should help us protect against known and unknown threats, right? Be automated, right, and deliver persistent protection, and on top of it, become a threat hunting organization, right? As a managed service security provider, they should offer us advanced monitoring, analysis, security breaches, and etc., right? rapid incident response and event investigation, then maybe log management insights, right? Closely monitor advanced threats, automate the vulnerability management. That is one of the biggest things that I expect, from a provider. Then in today's world, one of the most critical things should be properly manage risk and compliance. So basically, we should be monitoring against compliances as well. That what are the things that we need to have to be done, be it PCI DSS, PADSS, ISO, or HIPAA, right? So and obtain best in class intelligence, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so I will come back to Sophos on the compliances part, but first I'll go to Vikas. What are your expectations from a security solution vendor like Sophos?
I think I will take on from where Yatin pointed out. Yatin was looking for a comprehensive and a combined dashboard, visibility of all investment you have already made. And what I also want is that my existing investments, which maybe the legacy firewalls or network security that I have implemented, and now I'm going in for a new endpoint security solution, whether it is cloud, etc. They should all talk and share information with each other. So if my network has identified a threat somewhere, it should alert the endpoints, and or if endpoint has identified a threat somewhere, they should be alerting and sharing the intelligence with my network security, which is already, which may be a legacy program, but network security is so much dependent upon past data that it will capture and understand what is the behavior pattern or what is the threat pattern. So sharing this intelligence across vendors and across solutions is critical.
Sachin, I've come to you. What would your expectation be?
Yeah.
Hello, Sachin.
Sachin, your sound is muted.
Sachin, I think you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I think someone else was unmuted. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah. So my thinking from the benefit points of view is basically first thing is the implementation process from Sophos, because we are an organization where we have global setup and we have multiple locations and also multiple applications and tools which we use in our day-to-day life. So that is the most concern, and I would like to know from Sophos how they will be doing all these things from implementation point of view. And other thing is having a clear and visible dashboard where all the users are being visible, and the third point is most is not only pointing out the issues, but there should be solution provided from Sophos rather than pointing out the issues and uh, getting a message or whatever. Rather than that, I would say Sophos should give us the solution also with that, so that it becomes easier for my department or the IT guys to go into the root cause and solve the issue as soon as possible. So rather than we have seen that most of the time to identify the issue becomes it takes most of the time. And until then, most of it creates a havoc in between the organization and becomes a ruckus. So that should not happen. If Sophos is providing a dashboard, it just only not provide, but the dashboard I would suggest it should give a solution also with that. And most of it, as I said, the implementation process where organizations have been already having different kind of setup, different kind of vendors, different kind of applications. That is the main part what I would like to point on.
Before I come to Sophos, Mr. Purushottam, you would like to mention what sort of expectations you have from vendors like Sophos?
The expectation is the log management is what I'm looking at, and responses with regards to the threat what is being rising in within the organization, and real-time protection is the other aspect. As what rightly said, the synchronization is the biggest problem because the antivirus is a different product, or the knock product is a different product. So having one centralized console to manage all this will sort out the problem for an organization is what I'm suggesting across.
Okay. Thank you. So Ravi, I'll come to you now with, we have heard about two, three areas. One is centralization through one console. That is a common, that's a more a manageability issue. So that's a common concern. We heard about the compliances part, and more importantly, some of the management issues that we heard is more a managed security services kind of offering. So my question is, does Sophos provide sort of a managed security services offering? And if yes, if you can share details with our enterprise users here.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll just quickly touch upon all the points raised by respective fellow panelists. So, Yatinji and Vikasji talked about central management, right? Wherein they want to have all the products managed through a single management console, right? That is exactly what Sophos Central does for all the Sophos next generation product. I understand Yatinji raised that they have a hybrid products, right? And as I said earlier, there are to manage hybrid products, people needs to expose their API to other vendors, which is a rare case, right? And then again, you choose this vendor based on their protection capabilities or your requirement, right? And the same goes with Sophos products as well. So you choose Sophos next generation firewall, you choose Sophos next generation AV along with EDR, MTR, or you choose any of the products currently Sophos offer, right? Those mate with all the industry standards or all the players which are into the Gartner's leader quadrant, right? So we are talking about apple to apple comparison over here, right? We are not I cannot say that you go and replace all the products with Sophos right now, because that is something which you have invested into, right? But then as and when the product is due for the renewal, right? Let's say a firewall, try it out one, right? It is apple to apple comparison, and then go and taking all these products in with Sophos, and all these products can be managed through Sophos Central. That leaves the what do you call, logging into the different console, aggregating and correlating the logs, for which you need to have a separate solution, or you might need to purchase a separate solution in the form of SIM, right? To have a automation, again, to manage different vendors firewall, there are Firemon, AlgoSec, 2Deep. These are the solutions, but they only manages different vendors of firewall. For endpoint, there might be a different platform altogether. For email, there might be a different platform altogether. But when we talk about a firewall, email gateway, let's say a cloud solution, endpoint solution, access point, web gateway, managed through single console, I don't think Sophos Central is the only what do you call vendor which can give you all these hybrid products, right, at next generation level, and can manage through a single management console, that is Sophos Central. What it does, it allows you to have a single pane of glass for all the events and the alert generated across the organization, rather than logging into different console. It reduces manual intervention, which Yatinji and Vikasji talked about. Yatinji already also talked about multi-cloud environment, right? Same Sophos Central with our product called Cloud Optics. Now, Cloud Optics basically gives you visibility, compliance, and response across all the assets hosted on AWS, Azure, or GCP. So these are the main three cloud platforms used across India. So if you have anything hosted on these three cloud platforms, our Cloud Optics will give you visibility, compliance, and response of any misconfiguration happened on cloud, anything which is exposed over the public internet, maybe a database, right, which can be a potential risk for your cloud. All these firewall instances available on all these cloud, and endpoint instances available on cloud or on premises as well. So no matter where your ecosystem is, infrastructure is, all these solutions can protect you. And on top of it, there is a single management dashboard for you to maintain all these things. So that was all what Yatinji, Vikasji talked about. Anuj talked about known and unknown threats. Talk about Sophos intercept text with EDR. Santhosh said we have signature based, signatureless AI machine learning enabled platform. Same with firewall as well. So firewall and endpoint both has capability to block known and unknown threats, right? But on top of it, firewall and endpoint, though they are doing their best job at their respective level, gateway level, perimeter level, and endpoint level, but then moment endpoint recognize something, that this endpoint is trying to connect to command and control, a botnet, he will ask firewall that he's doing some malicious activity. Firewall will immediately drop internet connection. He might be trying to connect to command and control center and trying to get a payload. Before that, firewall will drop the internet connection of that particular endpoint. Meanwhile, the endpoint will scan the endpoint, clean the infection so that everything will be restored as it is. So the point raised for minimum manual intervention, I would say no manual intervention required. Only thing you need to do is acknowledge the action taken by Sophos automation and the response system, right? On top of it, right, if you feel there are good tools and animations available as per as Sophos is providing you, but unfortunately I have only 2 people in my organization which are already loaded with IT security and other stuffs, so they don't have time to look into all those alerts, what kind of action has been taken care by, and they don't have bandwidth, to be honest. There, Sophos provide the service called MTR, which Santhosh talked about, which is a 24/7 SOC service where they will manage the threat hunting capabilities on your behalf, right? So anything suspicious going on, they will collaborate your team. They will notify your team, this is bad happening, block this URL, block this hash, block this endpoint going on to this particular URL. Or if you are given them the authority to do it by themselves, they will do it without disturbing you, because we all know that threat will not happen during 11 to 6, right? It might happen at midnight too, right? So they might not give you call and wake you up, they will take the action on the behalf of you. So managed service with Sophos will neutralize all these threats on your behalf, no matter when it is happening, at midnight 12, in during daytime, or you might be having enjoying with your family on a holiday. So that is the managed threat services. Sachin talked about the implementation part, right? We have all the scripting available, which will uninstall existing AV, no matter what existing AV you have, right, and install our own antivirus. We leverage all those automation tools, Active Directory to do the implementation. We do pilot on different operating systems, few Windows 7, few Windows 10, Mac, Linux. Once pilot is okay, we'll roll out the project. We have TAM services, professional services to do the implementation. That is something, it's a broader topic. It depends on what kind of infrastructure, location, branches, what you have, and then we'll roll out the project accordingly. Uh, Log management, I don't no need to tell that, since it's a central management platform. Endpoint, firewall, email, wireless, cloud optics reporting to the same console. So centralized log reporting. I'll give you one use case, a short use case, because that is the last point what Purushottamji has highlighted. Log management, right? Uh, on a Sophos Central, we saw there is an endpoint, right, communicating to the command and control center, and that alert was generated on a firewall log, right? We jumped onto firewall from the same central console. No need to log into firewall. Clicked on firewall, a firewall UI opened. We came to know about the desktop name and the IP address and the user sitting on that particular firewall. Then we thought this is the botnet or command and control communication, right? We copied the host name of that endpoint, went to central and pasted, because central is having endpoint protection as well, right? And we found that that endpoint has downloaded a game, right, which was trying to communicate to a game exe, which was trying to communicate to command and control center. Since everything is working from home, with Sophos EDR, that is live discover and live query, we fired a query, how many endpoints has this game downloaded, and we came to there are 3-4 systems who has downloaded that particular game, and we immediately took help of live response to delete that game remotely. Sitting administrator was sitting at home, users were sitting at home, and we have deleted that game and just give a ring to the users that please do not download any games on the weekend, because the laptop has been cooperated. When this is what all happened using a single management console, that is Sophos Center. So that also a point raised by team, that users should be, administrators should be able to take action remotely, and that is all possible because of all these next generation products capabilities talking to single management console and can take remotely action on a single management console, no matter where administrator is, where user is. Right? It's all cloud managed and 24/7 available, even through mobile browser.
In the same front, I had a small question. My name is Purushottam. So my
Yep.
concern was in the form of live reporting. Is that
Mhm.
possible? Because what happens is what I've seen majority of the OEMs, the live reporting is not available because each of the customer has a different requirement with regards to the reporting front. So
Mhm.
we'll have a tough time with regards to that creating it. So is there any feasibility that we can do a customization of the report?
So yeah, reporting is live for sure. As long as my endpoint firewall are reaching to Sophos Central, all the live reports are generated, right? Uh, Very soon you will hear from Sophos is XDR. When people are talking about
Mhm.
XDR now, XDR is basically all those products are dumping a data leak, dumping a logs to a data leak, which is again on a cloud. So what will happen? Even if the endpoint is offline, since data leak is on cloud, we can query data leak that what all data is that endpoint from that endpoint we have gathered, right? So that is XDR, and due soon, in fact, yeah, beta is already started, right? All these reports are live, as I said, and you can query live for 90 days of historical logs on that particular endpoint, right? Not only
Okay,
live report you are
what
getting on central.
now the current problem or the challenges what I see is they want to maintain a log for at least 6 months. Okay,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
basically, few customers will say, okay, I don't want it for 90 days. I want it for let's assume for 6 months. Is there a feasibility where we can keep the data for 6 months?
Yes, you can keep. These historical logs will be there for 6 months and 1 year, depending on the data or data store you purchase. But here I'm talking
Okay,
about the suspicious activity logs will be there for the endpoint specific for ADR for 90 days. For historical logs will be there for sure, right? And
historical
and
log
and
will be okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and even if you're already using some SIM solution, right? We
Mhm,
have a
mhm.
APIs which can integrate your existing solution, syslog or SIM solution. Otherwise, Sophos Central itself can give you a centralized logging and reporting.
Okay, one more area that I would just, for the brevity of time, just go through each panelist, asking them very briefly if you can mention for the next 6 to 12 months, what would be the key security area that you would be focusing on in your organization? All the panelists.
Yeah. So, Rajni ji, the question, if I elaborate it in case panelists wants to, because Santhosh has highlighted in the first slide that there are people focusing on prevention, there are people focusing more on detection and response, right? So maybe EDR solution, maybe a pure play next generation antivirus, or maybe a services like MTR. So as an CIO, CISO, you that correct me, Rajni ji, if I'm not wrong. So are you focusing on prevention or detection, or all the capabilities, or all three are the important one? Is that what
The
you're trying?
prevention part, and maybe one area I'd like to focus also on, which was very evident during the pandemic time, is the business continuity itself. The
Right.
business continuity plan, and there is often we don't sort of audit the business continuity plan, and the security vulnerability is there, and the importance of business continuity was established during this time. So maybe if I can ask someone, Anuj, maybe regarding what do you think the security measures should be taken to maintain a proper BCP, and as an organization, what would be your security focus areas for the next 1 year?
I
Anuj.
think one of the biggest challenges that we have people from working from home is the ability to have them learn what to do and what not to do, right? And as an end user, you cannot have them follow the protocols that are set by the organization, right? So, for example, not to use public Wi-Fi, not to use personal devices and things like that, because once they are connected to the company network, you you know the vulnerability at their endpoint may lead to something which is unexpected. So I think with pandemic, vulnerability management and assessment, which is always at not taken very seriously, is one of the biggest things, specifically coming into this year, while the work from home is going to extend, say, till next quarter or 2 quarters at least. So I would say that, and gone are the days now where priority of a certain aspect of security is taken place. Now a holistic view needs to be taken as to how to secure your environment, even if it is a work from home thing, and if there is a need to invoke a DR or a BCP plan, how security will play an important role in setting up your DR or a BCP plan. So I think a holistic view needs to be taken. Gone are the days where we say, okay, we will only consider about installing an antivirus, right? And nothing more, because in small business organization, an antivirus is like, why do we need it? Windows Defender will do it, right? So gone are the days where we only wanted to so today the security starts from your desktop up to the endpoint, or up to your company's entry point.
Okay. Um, Sachin, you would like to add something in terms of security plans for your organization?
No, probably I think I have already discussed whatever the concerns are and the requirements are. So that is what I need to say. Yeah.
Okay. Vikas?
Yeah, I think we are in the networking business. British Telecom is a global player where we provide networks and security to all our end customers. And being compliant, besides being business oriented and recognizing business needs, are the key priorities, so that we don't miss out on what the business needs. At the same time, whether it is European Union or US laws or whatever, we stay compliant to each and every region. That is what my organization is promoting.
Yatin, I would come to you regarding your security plans.
See, primarily, right, we would first focus, and we are focusing on the response, because we know, right, that the vulnerabilities and the threats by every day keep on increasing. So we strengthen first our response, and then as a second priority, we further strengthen our detection. And after we are 100% sure that detection and response are, I mean, sorted out, then we start investing into prevention. Because if we start investing in prevention first, then it is a black hole. No matter whatever you prevent, right, you cannot be 100% compliant and guarantee 100%, right, safeguarding the enterprise, right? Because it is the target is ever moving, and hence the conscious matured approach that we have taken is first strengthen and clarify and be sorted out with your response, then invest into detection, and then invest into prevention.
Okay. Purushottam, what are your security plans going to be the priority ones? Mr. Purushottam, I think he has got disconnected. Okay, so I will ask then Ravi to sort of put in the last word. We have heard the security plans of the CIOs also. So keeping that in mind, from a Sophos perspective, what would be your messaging be for the CIOs for the next 12 to 18 months, maybe? Ravi.
All right. So only message and the request to all the CIOs and the people who will be responsible for the cyber security is, I mean, cyber security is all about people, process, and the product, right? Product, yeah, there are individual products we talked about there, but then how these products can talk to each other. Now, buy a product not based on your current requirement, but seeing the future. right? So what exactly future is all about, because the way the digital transformation is happening, right, what we are seeing today may not be true for tomorrow, right? So it is all about seeing the future. When I focused on people as well, which is the weakest link of any organization, it could be because of the malicious intent of the user, or it can be a user ignorance, and most of the time it is a user ignorance. So user awareness training does play a important role in cyber security. Now product, you will block all those entry points of an attack, like block RDP port, block all unnecessary port using firewall and the endpoint. But how about the people ignorance? Now email is something, when we have seen that RDP and email is the most common attack vector for a ransomware. Now RDP, most of the people are blocking nowadays because of the firewall are allowing to block you the port. But email is something which every user has access to, right? And no matter how best in class email solution you have, one will sneak through, right? No email solution will give you 100% spam free. One will sneak through, because those are the targeted phishing attack, right? A spear phishing attack, and then user will click on it, and you never know, the entire organization will be on stake. So educating user, right, which links to click on, which mails to click on, whether you are expecting that mail, whether it was the mail was from your organization, to check the domain. For that also there are solutions. Now Sophos, as I said, Sophos has huge end-to-end security product, and which we missed to tell as well. We have fish threat as a product. Now fish threat as a product basically allows you to do simulated phishing attack on your own user. You design your own phishing email, right? Maybe an April appraisal email, maybe depending on a Christmas festival, send a Christmas phishing email, and see which all users are clicking on it. And if they are clicking on it, putting username password, they will be redirected to a training why they should not have click on that those email, right? And they will learn. So more this user getting trapped, right, and the more the common users you are finding out, you need to have a serious attention to those users, because those user can prove out to be a potential entry point on your organization. And that is how I said, product, yes, product will help you, processes surely help you, but then user awareness will certainly help you. So buy a solution which will have a next generation capabilities, not only based on current requirement, but the seeing the future, user awareness, and a synchronized security altogether, and of course can be managed through a single management console. Is the need of an hour.
Thanks. Prasanna, you would like to add something for the final conclusion?
Yeah, so it was a well taken discussion. And finally, when it comes to a CIO, it's always like, cost versus performance, right? Kitna mileage deti hai is like, in Indian language, what we talk is absolutely, there is something which I would stress upon, that security should be at the highest priority. At the same time, the cost should be effective, as Mr. Yatin was talking, that, cost should not be compromised as well. So I think when anybody is actually putting any solution at the right positions, we need to understand that it can give me a best performance at a best cost. So that's what I would like to conclude this, and just explore that how we can actually combine all these things, integrate these solutions, and in a very cost effective manner.
Thank you. So with that, we would conclude the panel discussion, and maybe I'd hand over back to the organizer. So Yogesh, do we have anything else? I'd like to then thank all the panelists for a very insightful discussion, and I'm sure Sophos representatives would also get in touch with you, and they can definitely help you with some of your concerns and areas where you are looking for further development and implementation. So back to you, Yogesh.
Rajneesh, one request. I need to drop off. I need to log on to a Europe call.
Sure, definitely, sir. Thanks a lot. Yogesh?
Yeah, thanks all the panelists and for the attendees also to join in with the Sophos webinar. So thanks a lot again, and we'll call off the webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.